Hey guys, today we're going to introduce you how to use coroutine in Unity. Coroutine is a very useful tool for countdown. Compared to set up a local timer and reduce its value in the update method, coroutine is much more efficient and clean. And I'm going to show you how to write a coroutine and how that works in Unity in this video. A coroutine is basically just like a to-do list. When it returns, it pauses the function and resumes the next execution in the next frame. So if you look at this code, in the first frame, it will initialize i's value. And in the next frame, it's gonna resume the execution in here instead of initialize I again. And there's one thing to notice. The coroutine will stop when it reaches the end of the line, which means the coroutine will stop after it execute the I++ in here. As you can see, there is this yield return now. This is a very useful line of code to use in coroutine, which stops the execution until the next frame. There is also this yield return new wait for seconds. For example, if you want this NPC to wait there for like 5 seconds, you can insert 5 in here. So let's go back to this code. So let's say if you want the coroutine to stop for like 2 seconds after it increment ice value, you can just use wait for seconds instead of now in here. And after discussing how do we write a coroutine, we should know how do we start a coroutine. So outside of the coroutine, you can have methods like start coroutine string. Inside the string, it is the name of the coroutine and the parameter you want to pass in. And also there's another way which you can just like insert the coroutine, which is much more straightforward. And also, you sometimes you want to stop a coroutine because you don't want two coroutine to happen in the same time. So outside of the coroutine, you can have methods like stop a coroutine or stop coroutine by function name. So after a brief introduction to coroutine, let's get back to Unity. So in here, what I want is that every time when I press space, the vampire should move towards the player for 2 seconds. Now let's try that. So you can see this works perfectly. And now let's check the script. Hope you are familiar with this script. In here, we define a local move time. And in here, we decrease the time by the delta time. As you can see, the code looks kind of messy. So we want to change it to a coroutine. To define a coroutine, first, we need the return type to be an enumerator. And we like to pass in the time, like, because we're going to decrease the time in our coroutine. So we're going to do something like this. And there's a error here because there isn't any return type. And for a coroutine, a return type should be a yield return something. And in here, a yield return null should just work as fine. What do we actually want is that when the time is bigger than 0, we want the vampire to move towards. Therefore, we should do something like this. While time is bigger than 0, we want the vampire to move. And I could just copy the move code from our update method to here. So while time is bigger than 0, okay. And also, in order for a loop to work, don't forget to decrease the time here. Okay. And also, you want to pause the code after you move the vampire. What this actually do is when you call the coroutine in this frame, it's gonna enter this loop. And other than other functions for the coroutine, it's gonna pause the execution in here and resume the loop in the next frame. So like, which means this is only get to call once in a frame. And so after the loop, which means the time is smaller or equals to 0, we want to stop the move and change the animator to the idle state. And okay, let's comment this out. And have our another update. In here, we're going to copy this and invoke. We can invoke a coroutine by just using start coroutine method. We could do it either by a string and the time, or we can do it by passing the function directly. And there's local move time. Okay, so let's test if this actually works. Now I'm pressing the space. You can see the vampire move towards the player. Oh, and it didn't stop, which is weird. Let's see why. Okay, yeah, you can see I made a mistake here. So instead of a local move time, what I should do is that I should change the time here, because that is a time we'll keep track of. So let's go back to the Unity and see how it goes this time. Yeah, the vampire stops after 2 seconds moving, which is exactly what we want. And that's basically it for the basic introduction for the coroutine. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you.